Welcome to the Nevada Trucking Association podcast. I'm Paul Enos, CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association. Before we get started this weekend, we are all going to be recognizing Memorial Day and just want to take a moment to remember those folks who sacrificed their lives both in this era and through the ages for our country, for everything that we hold dear, and for this beautiful place we're able to live and work and raise our families. So just want to take a moment to remember those soldiers that did make that ultimate sacrifice. And as we do go into this Memorial Day, we are celebrating something here in the Silver State that those people do protect, and that is our right to vote. Early voting does start tomorrow. That is May 25th that you're watching after this, and it is going to go on for 2 weeks. So today, to talk about the elections, the primary elections that are going to be held for the next 2 weeks and ultimately be finished on June 12th, I have Jaron Hildebrand here, who's a member of our team here at the Nevada Trucking Association, our Director of Government Affairs. Jaron, how are you today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on. So let's talk about some of the races that people are hearing about, that are hearing on the radio, that they're seeing on TV. Let's talk about some of those key races, and ultimately what the U.S. Senate, the Congress, the legislature, the governor's mansion can look like in 2019.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is Senator Dean Heller's run for re-election. His race is one of the most important in the country to keep the Senate Republican, or if he loses to Jackie Rosen, there's a good chance that the Senate might switch to a Democrat. Both of them are going to have a lot of outside money. Both are raising a ton of money.
We're looking at maybe like a $120 million race, which is
unreal.
Absolutely insane for Nevada.
Yeah.
I mean, Harry Reid versus Sharon Angle in 2010 was the biggest we've ever seen, and I think this may
almost
top
triple
that.
it, so, or double it. Excuse me. So it's going to be a big race, and we'll see what happens. Jackie Rosen, for lack of a, she has not a lot of voting record, not a lot of time in the Senate, but that could also benefit her. Heller has a long voting record. He's experienced, which,
well, and I will
depending
say
on how you look at it.
Dean Heller, Dean has been absolutely phenomenal for the trucking industry. Mm-hmm. Dean has been a leader for F4A reform. He is one of the 30 senators who signed on asking FMCSA to take a look at hours of service flexibility. He's been at our truck driving championships. His wife Lynn has sang the national anthem there. So he's somebody who has really been, involved in this industry and
major advocate.
does care about our trucking companies and our truck drivers out there on the road. So Dean's been absolutely great for us.
I think the next biggest race would be our governor's race. Obviously, there's Adam Laxalt's most likely the favorite to come out of this, the primary, Republican primary.
Ahead of our treasurer, Dan Schwartz.
Correct, yes, and just overall money raised and, just overall support, I think that it's likely Adam will be our candidate for Republican. And then the other two Democrats, Sisolak and Chris G. That's a dogfight.
Chris Giuliani, but Chris G, as she's known.
Yeah.
I guess you see the signs, and I guess they're using less ink with just the G. Worked with both of them. Both have been easy to work with throughout the years. Different than a lot of different philosophies than a lot of our members have politically, but definitely in Chris's case, I've worked with her for the better part of 2 decades, and actually been somebody who will sit down, will work with you, even if she disagrees with you. Now that's not to say I wouldn't rather have a Governor Laxalt,
right.
Another guy that I absolutely love and respect. Another guy who came to our truck driving championships this year. And when you look at his record
with the swoop and stops and as Attorney General,
where you have these criminals that will go and intentionally try to get in an accident with 18-wheeler, so they can then game the insurance companies with these corrupt doctors, corrupt attorneys. They had a 24-count indictment out of his office on this. And we've also worked with him hand in hand, as we did with his predecessor, Catherine Cortez Masto, in efforts to stop human trafficking. So Adam's been great. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for him. He is a great friend to the association, our industry, and looking forward to what's going to happen in this race coming up. Now, some of the other key races, I know we have a number of congressional races that are kind of up for grabs. Down in District 1, we have Dina Titus, who that pretty much looks like it's a lock. Dina serves on the T&I committee.
Yep.
Doesn't always vote our way, but is always very, somebody who's very accessible, open to having a conversation with us. And then in District 2, another great friend for our industry, somebody who, when the hours of service debate was happening at the end of the Obama administration, whether we were going to lose hours, he and Heller stepped up. They were really pushing that so we could keep that flexibility that we have with hours of service and keep those productive hours that we were going to lose after some goofballs in the Obama administration try to take those away. Thankfully, we have a much different, a much better FMCSA today under the stewardship of Secretary Chow and Ray Martinez than we've had in the past. So that's definitely a benefit. But Mark's somebody who's been great for us. And we have in District 3 Senator Scott Hammond, who was transportation chair, somebody who knows our issues, has been phenomenal. And then in District 4, Crescent Hardy, who was there, then lost re-election in 2016, did serve on T&I, and former member of the Nevada Trucking Association.
And was also a strong advocate for us in the assembly when he was an assemblyman here in Carson City.
Yeah, hey, all you folks in Clark County that are paying that index fuel tax and getting the refunds, Crescent Hardy is the guy to thank for that. Crescent has been fantastic, so absolutely great. So love him, great guy. We look at some of the other races. Let's talk about the legislative races. What do those look like? I know we have a number of primaries there, but Democrats right now, they control both houses. What are the numbers in the Senate and the Assembly?
Right now, it's essentially it's 11, 10, 1. Right now, it's 10 Democrats, 9 Republicans, and one independent who caucuses and is essentially with the Democrats. She's not running for re-election. That was Senator Patty Farley, who used to be a Republican. The two big races in the Senate, I would say, are Senate District 8, which is Valerie Weber, and that's who we're...
Valerie's in a primary right now. So
right.
Valerie was, multi-term assemblywoman down in Henderson, part of the Mean 15 in 2003. And she's running against former Senator Elizabeth Helgen.
Oh, yeah.
And
Daniel Rodemeyer.
I mean, this guy,
professional wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, this guy had this amazing fundraiser with a bunch of WWF wrestlers from my childhood that absolutely adored when I was a kid. Although, of course, didn't have some of my favorites like Roddy Piper, George the Animal Steele, or Macho Man Randy Savage, because of course they're not with us anymore. But Godspeed to them too. And then the other Senate race that is
Senate District 9. That used to be Senator Becky Harris's Senate district. She resigned and now is chairing the Gaming Control Board. We have Tiffany Jones, who ran in Senate or Assembly District 35. Unfortunately, she lost. She's going to move into the Senate district and run there. She doesn't have a primary, but she'll have a tough race because that district leans.
And who's the Democrat in that race?
That is Melanie Schiebel, a business Democrat. But no, actually, she is a DA.
DA.
Yeah.
So a prosecutor.
Right.
So law and order. So that's always that's always good to have folks that are looking for law and order. And then the Assembly. I mean, I don't know if there's a shot of the Assembly changing this year.
I don't think so. I think potentially if they keep Assembly District 4, which is Richard MacArthur, and keep some Assembly District 37, which is Jim Marchant, and potentially I think they could pick up 4 seats. They have 29, which is Leslie Cohen. She's the Democrat and the incumbent, and running against Stephen Silberkraus, who used to be there. and lost to Leslie Cohen. And then I think
He's beat her, he's lost.
Yeah, this is the third round for them too.
And so we have a similar race like that up here in District 31.
Yeah, we have Skip Daly, who beat Jill Dickman, and likewise Jill Dickman beat Skip Daly. So this should be interesting. It leans Republican, so I'd like to think that Jill Dickman will take this race.
So let's just talk a little bit about the Nevada dynamics, because in a presidential election year, since 2000, the last times Republicans won in a presidential election year was for presidency was 2004. Under George Bush. That seemed to change. The subsequent elections. The Democrats are very good at getting their folks out to vote. I think Dean Heller in 2012 was, very close vote. That was a big surprise for a lot of folks. But usually presidential election years turn out more Democrats than Republicans, and the midterms turn out more Republicans than Democrats, which is why the last year a Democratic governor was elected in the state of Nevada was Bob Miller in 1994. So I mean, just to put that into some context. Now, it is kind of interesting to see what's happening with voter registration numbers. Those are big. Where are we at with voter registration today compared to where we have been in the past?
Well, currently it's decreasing. The overall active voters, there was a purge. It's down to 1,427,000 roughly million voters. Right now, the Democrats have an advantage of just over 61,000. But last year, 2 years ago, I mean, the Democrats are, the Republicans are making a dent, and earlier this year it was closer to 70,000 Democrats' advantage. So it's moving.
And I know both sides, just looking at their Twitter feeds, both sides are, really focused on this, focused on voter registration efforts.
Both sides definitely have field operations out in Vegas, Reno, all over the state right now.
And hey, no matter who you're going to vote for, please don't care if they vote for, Democrat, Republican. We don't support people based on their party. We support people that are going to be supportive of the trucking industry. And we do have a Democrat assemblyman in Assembly District 42, who does have a trucking background.
Yes, now I'm drawing a blank on his name, but it was he's replacing Assemblywoman Irene Bustamante Adams. His name's Alex Safa. He
Ethiopian immigrant,
very smart man, very hard worker. Started his own business. He does not own his own trucks or anything, but he is affiliated with the trucking industry and supports the industry, and is looking actually to acquire a few trucks and get more into the actual fleet side of the industry. So,
and we have like Richard Carrillo, chairman of the Assembly Transportation Committee. Does he have a primary this year?
No, he doesn't.
Thank God. He had a tough one last time, and Assemblyman Carrillo has been a huge supporter, a huge advocate for truckers, for the trucking industry, and been phenomenal. So, we like I said, we don't look at party affiliation. We look at how folks are going to be on trucking. That being said, we do encourage everybody to go out there, register to vote. Take a look at the issues. We're going to be having a number of these conversations, on the myriad of offices and ballot questions that are going to be up as this moves forward. So we encourage you to make sure that you're registered to vote, that your employees are registered to vote, and we're going to be providing you with information as we move towards November, on who those folks are that are friendly to the trucking industry, that do think about you, that think about our drivers, that think about what the business climate in the state of Nevada is as a whole as we move towards November. Hey, Jaron, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Good to have you. Anything else you want to say?
Just keep an eye out for these podcasts, and there'll be much more material, and we look forward for your feedback.
Feedback and input. And Jaron, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, ask you questions.
Our office number is 775-673-6111, or you feel free to email me at jaron@nevadatrucking.com, and my first name is Jaron.
Jaron, that's I always know is a tough one. And hey, for the folks that watched the last podcast, my wife yelled at me about the Kid Rock sticker that I had on my iPad. It's gone. I do love Kid Rock. I do think he would have made a pretty good senator. Kind of knocked the status quo out a little bit. Although since we're not in Michigan, so I don't have that on anymore. So if I came across endorsing Kid Rock or Goofy on the last time, this is for my wife. I'm sorry. Hey, everybody, go out there. Have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. Have a safe Memorial Day. We appreciate you watching and listening. Safe travels.